Imagine holding a narrow strip of cloth in your hands. You feel the faint ridges of a hand-woven selendong. You smell a hint of earth and indigo, and you notice a faded motif that looks like a river. Whose hands made this? What village names hide in those patterns? Today, we'll follow that cloth back through time.
Welcome to Ancient Echoes, where we trace the layers of Cambodia's living traditions. I'm your host, Samnang Bradley, and joining me is my co-host, Rachana Sul. Together, we'll unfold the story of Khmer textiles, their histories, techniques, and meanings that keep memory alive.
In today's episode, we'll map a clear path. First, a brief roadmap so you know where we're going, then a sweep of history, a hands-on explanation of silk weaving and ikat, a look at motifs and meanings, and finally, the lives of weavers today and practical ways listeners can support ethical craft. The key words we'll keep returning to are Khmer textiles, silk weaving, and ikat.
Why does a cloth matter? Because textiles are portable archives. They carry dye recipes, social ties, regional identities, and movement across markets. They are both everyday objects and memory keepers. Over the next hour, we'll listen closely to those threads. Let's begin with threads of time.
Threads of time. The history of Khmer textiles stretches from pre-Angkor periods to living practices today. Archaeologists and textile historians find evidence of woven cloth and patterning in temple reliefs, burial goods, and trade records. What this reveals is a long continuity. Cloth has been a marker of rank, a gift in social exchange, and a canvas for regional identity.
Regional styles mattered. In the lowland provinces near the Mekong, weavers favored tightly twisted silk with small geometric ikat motifs. In upland communities, different plant dyes and looms created unique textures. Over generations, motifs were named after rivers, animals, and ancestral stories, so a single pattern can signal a specific place or family connection.
The role of cloth in social life is layered. From wedding textiles passed down as heirlooms to shoulder cloths exchanged during rites of passage, fabric acts as portable kinship. That's the heart of the matter. Textiles are social documents. The deeper story is how practice and meaning cohere across time and change.
Now, let's move from big-picture history to the tangible steps of making silk, from mulberry to thread and then to ikat resist dyeing and the loom. I'll walk you through each stage with sensory detail so you can almost feel the rhythm of the workshop.
Step 1. Sericulture. A silkworm house is warm and quiet. Imagine trays of mulberry leaves and small, soft larvae slowly spinning cocoons, a white, papery hush. Farmers harvest cocoons, gently steam them, and unwind long, fine filaments. Each filament is surprisingly strong, and several are plied together to make the silk yarn we recognize.
Then comes spinning and winding. Yarn is skillfully retwisted to create the right tension for weaving. This is where technique matters. The twist affects luster, strength, and how dyes take to the fiber. In Khmer silk weaving, small choices at this stage shape the final cloth's sheen and feel.
Ikat resist dyeing is one of the most fascinating processes. Before threads meet the loom, they are tied and bound in precise patterns. Dyers immerse these bundles in vats of natural dyes. Indigo for deep blues, madder-like roots for warm reds, and tannins for earthy browns. Where the bindings remain, the thread resists the dye. So when the bindings are removed, you reveal a patterned thread ready for weaving.
In many Khmer communities, ikat patterns are calculated and transferred by eye or simple measures, not by written grids. That means skill is embodied. The weaver knows how much warp to allocate for a motif, how bindings will shift in the dye bath, and how the motif will read when woven. The evidence shows us that this tacit knowledge travels through apprenticeship more than through manuals.
Next, imagine the backstrap loom, a simple wooden frame where the weaver hooks one end to a tree or post
and the other to a strap around their waist. That tension gives a direct, physical control over the weaving rhythm. You hear the shuttle pass, a soft click. The heddles lift and fall, and the cloth grows centimeter by centimeter.
Let's unpack motifs and meanings. Common patterns include water motifs, which may echo river life, geometric stars and diamonds, which can indicate status or village origin, and stylized flora or animal forms tied to local oral stories. The layers matter. A motif might mean different things in different provinces, or shift in meaning when moved from ritual cloth to trade fabric.
Color choices are equally significant. While we avoid labeling them purely symbolic, what we can say is that colors communicate. Indigo can signal formality. Lighter natural hues speak to everyday wear, and certain color combinations are reserved for ceremonial use within particular communities. Not every color means the same thing everywhere. Context is everything.
A few named examples help ground this. The pa-hole shoulder cloth, often woven with Ikat panels, has been used historically as both clothing and exchange item. The sampat variations, with narrow or broad patterns, carry different regional signatures. These named cloths act as both practical garments and social signifiers. They're how people carry memory on their bodies.
Now, to the people behind the cloth, weavers and workshops. Many artisan communities center weaving in village life. Knowledge passes through family lines and apprenticeship. A master weaver may spend years perfecting ikat planning and motif timing. At the same time, makers face market pressures, cheap machine-made textiles, shifting tourist tastes, and the work of balancing tradition with income needs.
Apprenticeship pathways vary. In some places, young people learn during childhood, helping with dyeing and warping. Elsewhere, cooperative programs and heritage organizations offer training that pairs technical skill building with business and design mentorship. The cultural significance is that such programs can help sustain techniques while opening avenues for fairer pay and broader markets.
Ethical buying matters. If you want to support Khmer textile traditions, look for transparent sourcing. Who made the textile, where it was woven, and what techniques were used. Prioritize cooperatives, fair trade groups, and artisans who document their processes. Ask questions about dye sources and whether profits return to the weaving community. Small, informed purchases help keep these living traditions vibrant.
We asked listeners to send questions about Khmer textiles, and here are two we received. First, how can I tell if an ikat is authentic? Look for discontinuities in pattern alignment, slight asymmetries from hand binding, and rich layered dye tones that machines rarely replicate. Second, where can I learn more? Visit museum collections with robust provenance, read ethnographic accounts, and explore Samnang's YouTube visuals for close-ups of loom technique.
Recommended resources include museum galleries with Southeast Asian textile collections, local cooperative websites that list artisan histories, and printed guides to basic dye plants used in Cambodia. If you're traveling, plan respectful visits, contact communities in advance, purchase directly when possible, and honor the maker's time by arranging visits through established programs.
Before we close, let's summarize the key takeaways. Khmer textiles are living archives. Silk weaving and ikat encode place, practice, and story. Motifs and colors communicate layered meanings, and supporting weavers ethically helps sustain both craft and community. The research tells us that textiles are central to how people record identity across generations.
If this episode inspired you, we'd love to see your images and questions. Share photos of textiles you've encountered with our hashtag, and visit Samnang Bradley's YouTube channel for step-by-step visuals of warp preparation, dye vats, and loom action. Let's unlock the echoes of history together.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Ancient Echoes. We hope these stories helped you see Cambodian history and culture in a deeper, more human way.
The echoes of the past live on in people's voices, memories, and everyday lives. Thank you for listening and for making space for these stories.
If this episode resonated with you, please follow Ancient Echoes on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who might appreciate these conversations.
You can also connect with us and share your own stories or questions at our social handles and website. We'd love to hear how these echoes sound in your life.
Until next time, thank you for listening to Ancient Echoes.
Music swells briefly, then fades out.
In the quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree. I called upon spirits, asked them to guide, to take her heart and lead her by my side. So I drew her near, traced her brow so fair, my sight this way. Warm, sacred power, swai, mighty spirit awakened. By the master's right, let her heart be gently taken. Let her follow me now by vow and by sign. I hear these words, oh teacher, witness this plea. Oh, my sacred power, swai. Oh, oh, oh.